Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Dr. Makhan Saikia's talk on foreign affairs. Once again, I'm bringing you to, a kind of a brief account of different types of wars, and historic wars that we have all fought in the past and till the recent past. Now, first of all, before going into the details of the whole thing, let me give you a brief account of the contents what we are going to follow. First of all, I'll be defining war. Then next, we'll be going to first recorded battle in human history. Next, earliest chariot battle. Next, I'll be talking about Battle of Marathon. Next, uniqueness of Aztec warriors. Next, I'll be talking about Punic Wars. Next, the longest series of war in human history I'll be telling you about. And next, organization of Roman soldiers, because they were very particular about this, about discipline, their organization. I'll be telling you about that. Then longest singular war in human history. Then shortest war that we have ever witnessed. The next, importance of the Crimean War. Then war without a single shot fired. That was also a war. What is it? Then why First World War? Then the deadliest war that we have ever witnessed. And finally, the Cold War. Even after the Cold War, there are a lot of wars that we have been experiencing and witnessing, and currently also we have been seeing a lot of wars. But since the video will be too long, so I'll be stopping in the Cold War itself. Now friends, let me go back to the first topic, define war. What is war? It's a state of open and usually declared armed conflict between political entities such as different nations or between rival political or social factions or groups within the same state. It can happen. It could be resulting from major political, economic, or social issues between two or more enemy states or rival states or nations. There have been many wars in the history of mankind. I have told you in my last video about different types of wars and also different causes of wars, right? Now, we all need to know what was the first recorded battle in human history, from when we have started recording battles. The first recorded battle in history was the Battle of Megiddo fought in 1479 BC between Egyptian forces under the command of Pharaoh Thutmose III and a large Canaanite coalition under the king of Kadesh. The battle ended with the Egyptian victory. It was also the first battle to record the use of composite bow and the body count. Imagine how farsighted they were. All details of the battle are mentioned in the hieroglyphic writings on the Hall of Annals in the temple of Amun Re at Karnak, Thebes, now Luxor. So you can find out all these out there. Now, then we can see, the first or the earliest chariot battle. The Battle of Kadesh, fought around 1275 BC, was the earliest and probably the largest chariot battle in human history, and it was fully recorded. It was a battle over control of Syrian territory and was fought between the Egyptian Empire under Ramses II and Hittite Empire under Muwatalli II at the city of Cadiz on the Orontos River in what is now the Syrian Arab Republic. Right? The battle involved perhaps 5,000 to 6,000 chariots and used unprecedented tactics and military formations by soldiers from both the parties. Right. Now, there have been a lot of talk about the Battle of Marathon. What is it? Let's have a look. The Battle of Marathon was fought between the Greeks and the Persians in 490 BC and is considered to be the ultimate proof of courage and patriotism. It was a fierce battle. The Greeks, though armed only with javelins and swords, defeated the much larger and better armed Persian army. Apart from the unbelievable victory, a famous legend of courage and sacrifice is also linked with this battle. What is it? When the Greeks won the battle, one of their soldiers named Pheidippides ran from Marathon to the capital city, that is Athens, nearly 26 miles to deliver the good news to the people. Right? Crossing the hills and other obstacles, Pheidippides arrived in Athens exhausted, announced the victory, and fell to the ground dead. Today, the word marathon means a foot race of exactly 26 miles, 385 yards that we all have been experiencing and witnessing across the world. So, this is the background of the so called word marathon that we all run, and many of us we have witnessed, right? So, it comes from the Battle of Marathon, right? So, these are all some of the facts. They are not only creating history, but they're also very much connected to our own present. Now, Aztec warriors, they're very famous, right? And what is unique about them? Let's have a look at this. Warfare was the main driving force of the Aztec economy as well as religion. Every Aztec male was a warrior and received basic military training from a young age, whether he is a businessman, craftsman, or a farmer. Aztec warriors fought nearby tribes, captured enemies, and extracted tribute payments that made Aztec Empire rich. Aztec warriors could reach up to a class elite people through their achievements. The army was divided in stratified warrior societies, each with a unique appearance. The jaguar warriors wore an actual jaguar skin with an open slot for the head. The eagle warriors wore helmets adorned with eagle feathers and heads. They adorned their armor with feathers and carried brightly colored shields. The most prestigious warriors were classified as the shorn ones. The heads were shaved except for a long braid over the left ear. They painted their bald heads blue on one side and red or yellow on the other side. These are very unique characteristics of Aztec warriors. Now, there's a lot of talk about Punic Wars. What are these wars? Have a look. The Punic Wars were fought between Rome, the capital city of the Roman Empire, and Carthage, a Phoenician colony near modern day Tunisia. Right? These were probably the largest wars of their times. The reason behind the Punic Wars was the ambitious expansion plans of the Roman Republic and the resistance to it by the existing Carthaginian Empire. Carthage had the strongest navy in the world those days, and Romans feared threat to their sea trade routes. So they destroyed most of the Carthaginian colonies in the area. The Romans wanted to expand further via Sicily, which partly lay under Carthage. But the Roman army was no match for the extensive maritime empire of Carthage. A series of three wars took place from 264 to 146 BC, resulting in the loss of many hundreds of thousands of soldiers from both sides. The first war from 264 to 241 BC, the second from 218 to 201 BC, and the third from 149 to 146 BC took place. Finally, Rome emerged victorious, completely destroying the city of Carthage. At the end of the Third Punic War, Rome became the most powerful state of the Western Mediterranean and one of the most powerful cities in classical antiquity. Right? This is how Rome established its prestige, power, and hegemony. Right. Now, let's talk about the, war that is longest in human history. Lasting for more than 700 years, the Roman-Persian Wars constitute the longest series of wars in history. The series began in 53 BC with the battles between Persian Empire and Roman Republic, continued through the Roman and Sassanid empires, and concluded with the Arab-Muslim invasions. The areas of dispute range from Trans-Caucasus area in the north, modern-day Georgia and Armenia, to the Mesopotamia Valley in the east. Early causes of these wars were Roman aggression, as it sought to expand or tried to expand the boundaries of its territories. The first war resulted in the Roman conquest of Parthia, whereas the final war took place in 627 AD and devastated the Sassanid and Byzantine East Roman empires. The series lasted approximately 721 years and was regarded as the longest conflict in human history. Wow! It included a game of tug of war, fortifying towns, trading for weapons, capturing forts, sacking provinces, and destroying humans. The huge expense of resources finally left both empires exhausted and ruined. Benefiting from their weakened condition, the Arab Muslim armies swiftly conquered the entire Sassanid Empire and deprived the Eastern Roman Empire of its territories in the Levant, the Caucasus, Egypt, and the rest of North Africa. Over the following centuries, most of the Eastern Roman Empire came under the Muslim rule. Despite years of conflict and dozens of campaigns, no long-term significances resulted from these wars. However, these wars remain the longest in human history. Now, as I told you in the beginning of the lecture, Roman soldiers were very special. Let's have a look at how they organized themselves. Roman army would have only men and no women. Women representation was not allowed those days. Every Roman soldier was a Roman citizen and had to be at least 20 years old. He was not supposed to get married while he was a soldier. The army had about 30 legions, brigades. Each brigade had between 4,000 and 6,000 foot soldiers called legionnaires. Each legion or brigade was split into 10 cohorts. Each cohort was made up of 6 troops of 80 legionnaires called centuries. Each century would be divided into smaller groups of 8 men called contubernium. Each century was led by a centurion who carried a short rod to show his importance and prestige and power. He could also use his stick to beat any soldier who disobeyed an order. The officer commanding the whole legion, brigade, was called a legate. Apart from this, each legion also had 120 horsemen. Imagine the army was divided so very well, even much better than today's or modern army of various nations across the globe. Now, longest singular war in history. Let's have a look. The longest singular war in world history is the one which was fought between Britain and France from 1337 to 1453 AD over a series of disputes, including the question of the legitimate succession to the French crown. It is known as Hundred Years' War. The war involved several generations of English and French claimants to the crown. In 1328 AD, when the King of France died without leaving a direct heir, King Edward III of England, who was the grandson of the former French king, claimed the right to rule both England and France from a single throne. The conflict started when the heir chosen by French assembly maneuvered to confiscate Guyenne, which was held by England in 1337 and continued even after the death of Edward III and lasted 116 years, finally ending with a victory of France. Now, the shortest war in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War, fought between the United Kingdom and Zanzibar Sultanate on August 27, 1896, is till date the shortest war in human history. It lasted only about 40 minutes. It all started with the death of the pro-British Sultan Hamad bin Tuwaini of Zanzibar on 25th August 1896. Sultan Khalid bin Barghash succeeded to the throne, but the British authorities preferred Hamoud bin Muhammad, who was more favorable to the British interest as Sultan. So the British sent an ultimatum to Khalid, demanding that he order his forces to stand down and leave the palace. In response, Khalid called up his palace guards, and barricaded himself inside the palace. The war marked the end of sovereign Zanzibari Sultanate and start of puppet rule by United Kingdom. Now, what is something so important about the Crimean War? Let's have a look. The Crimean War was fought from 1853 to 1856 between Russia and a group of nations including England, France, Turkey, and Sardinia. This war would fundamentally change the balance of power in Europe and set the stage for World War I. An important fact about the war was that it was one of the first wars to be documented extensively in the written reports and photographs. For the first time, the public were kept informed of the day-to-day happenings of the war thanks to the news correspondence reaching Britain from Crimea. Imagine this is how the war reporting started. Now, we'll be talking about a war where no shot was fired. The war that is famous for being waged without a single shot fired was the 335 years war between Netherlands and the Sicily Islands off the southwest coast of United Kingdom. It was not the actual battle, but its continuity for such a long period because of the absence of peace treaty not initiated by the Netherlands. The Dutch Navy, which was allied with the British parliamentarians, was suffering heavy losses from the Royalist fleet based in Scilly. Hence, they demanded reparation from British Royalist Navy for the ships and goods taken by them. Upon receiving no satisfactory answer, the Netherlands declared war. War was declared specifically upon the isles of Scilly in March 1651. In June 1951, the Royalist fleet surrendered and the idols of skill reverted to parliamentarian control. Subsequently, the Netherlands navy sailed back home, albeit forgetting to declare peace on the poor little idols of Scilly. Only in 1985 it was revealed through documents that Scilly and the Netherlands were still at war in absence of a peace treaty. So, in 1986, a treaty was signed and the war finally came to an end. Now, how about the First World War? The First World War took place primarily due to increasing tension between the European powers and a tangle of alliances between countries trying to regain lost territories from previous wars. The Bosnian crisis, Austria-Hungary taking over Bosnia in 1909, angering Serbia, and the Moroccan crisis, German protesting in 1911 against the French possession of Morocco, also added to the causes. Amidst these circumstances, on 28 June 1914, by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austrian throne, Batavian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip. On 23rd July, Austria delivered a note to Serbia government that, if agreed to, would have almost ended Serbian independence. On acceptance of the conditions stated in the note by Serbia, led to the Austro-Hungarian Empire declaring war on Serbia on 28 July 1914, where other powers got involved later, leading to the World War I. The deadliest war in human history is no other than the Second World War that we fought from 1939 to 1945, because this war witnessed 50 million casualties at a time when the population of the entire planet was around 2.1 billion only. And another horrifying fact of the war was that this, for the first time, humanity had seen a nuclear bomb, atomic bomb, dropped over two cities of Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And finally, Cold War. It was not actually a frontal war. This was a war of ideologies, right, between US-led West and the USSR and its allies. So the war continued till the disintegration of Soviet Russia and fall of the Berlin Wall and removal of communist governments in Eastern Europe. So friends, with these, kind of wars that we have witnessed all across human history, what we have seen is that wars have been fought, wars will be fought, and this is all done by we all human beings. So friends, definitely I'll be bringing you the whole story of Cold War in some of the lectures. Thank you for watching me. Keep watching me, and I am simply requesting you to help me to help you all, because I'll be bringing you all my lectures in a very precise and clear note. So you'll be able to understand many things, right? From concepts to the current happenings. Thank you and bye bye.